What's up everybody, Jason from Jason's Exotic Reptiles. Today we're going to talk about heating during a power outage. So over the past couple weeks, winter's been here and I've gotten a lot of requests from you guys, some emails from you guys asking, hey, what do I do if I get a power outage? So I thought it was about time to cover this video topic. I think there's some really simple things we can do, and what you specifically do is going to depend on how many animals you have and your specific requirements. So I'm going to go through some really simple things we can do if you have a smaller collection, to some more extreme things that we have to do if we have a larger collection, like myself or some of you other breeders out there that might have multiple rooms or hundreds of snakes that you need to care for during this power outage time. So first thing I do if I were to have a small collection, this is what I did when I was younger, when I had 5 or 6 snakes. I had them all in their individual cages. Living in New England, power outages can put us out anywhere from a couple hours to a couple days, maybe weeks if there's a bad storm. So this is going to apply more for kind of that whole range. If we have, first thing I do when power goes out is I'll check the weather, I'll check my National Grid websites and stuff like that, my power company websites, and see how long it's expected to be out. If it's expected to be out for more than like 4 or 5 hours, I might start getting things ready to go into this kind of power outage mode. So usually if your power goes out for a couple hours, you're not going to have any problems. Your temperatures are going to drop. Obviously, if you're in a colder climate, don't open your windows and do stupid things like that. Don't open your enclosures. The best thing you can do is keep everything sealed and closed. Don't even go in there to check their temps. Just know that their temps were right before the power went out. And now you're dealing with a power outage situation, so your goal is to keep the heat, keep everything in there and contained as much as we can. So that's kind of goal number one, is if it's a short-term power outage, do nothing. Just leave everything alone and stay away from it. If it's going to be something longer term, like 6 to 12 hours, maybe you're going to start getting into this contingency mode. So that's where I'll start prepping things, because sometimes they'll say it's going to be out for 12 hours and a couple hours later the power kicks back on. At least in my situation. Obviously, this is area dependent. If you're in the middle of nowhere, this might take a little bit longer, and what you do to understand how long it's going to be out might be a little bit different. But as soon as my power goes out, again, I check that forecast, how long it's going to be out, and I start prepping for these contingency measures if it's going to be out for longer. If you have a smaller collection, what I recommend doing, what you should have anyways, you should always have a temp gun around. This can help you figure out what your temperatures of everything is. If I do my floor right here, so right now you see my floor is 77 degrees, 77.5 degrees. So that's a good temperature. After a couple hours, all my temps are going to start dropping, and we're going to need to start going into some of these things. So with a smaller collection, 5 or 6 snakes, what I used to do is, if you have a gas stove, is you can heat up some water, pour it in some water bowls carefully. Obviously, you don't want it boiling. You'd want to check your temperature with your temp gun of the water. You want your water somewhere in like the 100 degree, 105 degree range, and then you can put some water bowls or some warm water bottles in the cage, and that'll last for a short period. So this is only like if you need to give them a little bit extra heat, but it's not going to last too long, or you're going to be constantly cycling this through. Another option you can do, and I'll go into this a little bit as we continue the video, is you can always have stuff like this on hand. So I use these kind of things for shipping materials, but you can get like a box like this from, I don't know, Staples. I don't know where I got this. I think it was Staples. So you can, Walmart. Get it at Walmart, Staples, Home Depot. All of them are going to have boxes like that. And then you get this little 1/4-inch insulation panel. And you can set up that box, line the box. This is something that you may want to have it ready in advance of a power outage, just so it's all done. You line the box, you cut everything to size. Now you have this really nice, tight, insulated area. From there, you can either do the water bottle idea, or you can use some of these heat packs. So now you would have to take all your snakes. So let's say you have 5 or 6 snakes. You take your 5 or 6 snakes, you put them in pillowcases, you put them in these boxes, and then you throw in a couple heat packs like this, almost like you're going to ship a reptile. And that, in theory, it should keep your snakes perfectly warm and fine for, this is a 72-hour heat pack. I'm going to say for about 2 days, your snakes are going to be fine in that box. Anything longer than that, you're going to need to pull them out, give them some water and stuff like that. But that's a really simple, cheap, easy way that you can keep these snakes healthy and warm during this power outage period. Obviously, it's not ideal. You're gonna give some stress to the snakes because they're gonna be all together in a box. If you did want to do it, you could give each snake its own box, especially if you have some quarantine animals. You obviously don't want to put your quarantine animals in with your healthy animals from everything else, and now you're just totally messed up your quarantine. So I don't know what this corn snake is doing, but it's really on my hand tight. So that's going to be like the easiest, simplest way, probably the cheapest way that anybody can heat a snake in a power outage is build a little insulated box, put all your snakes into that one box, throw some heat packs in there. It's very important that when you're using heat packs, you read the directions. You never want these heat packs on the snake. You always want to put them in, you can put them in like a sock or something like that, or the best thing to do is tape them to the lid. So you put all your snakes in, you put your lid on, you tape these things to the inside of the lid. Some of them have a red line. I think they all have red lines. Red line facing towards the snakes. And you're good to go. You're golden. That box will stay warm. Keep it shut. The more you open it, it's just like an oven. The longer it's going to take up to get up to temperature. But you can just check your temperatures with your heat gun. Check it with the check your temperature of your heat pack. Check your temperatures of your snakes, and you may dip down into the 60s. But in that case, maybe throw in another heat pack. Put it on the side. Biggest thing is keeping your snakes away from direct contact from the heat pack. Now, if we have a larger collection, obviously this is going to get difficult. Something like myself, I cannot take every one of these snakes out, put them in a box, and it would take me 2 days to do that. It's just too much to put together, is taking all these snakes and put them into a box. So what you're going to do is, in that case, you're going to have to buy like a generator or something like this. Generators, you can get them for fairly short money, couple $100. Obviously, if you live in an apartment or something like that, that may be a little more difficult, but I'm also assuming if you're living in an apartment, you don't have 500 snakes. So this is more towards a larger collection. I have, what I initially did when I first got, kind of expanded my collection, is I got a generator. I got the generator that was powerful enough to plug in 2 space heaters, and that worked okay. It kept my overall ambient room temperature in like the low 70s to the high 60s, and it worked all right. But where I was getting into issues is I had a bigger power, or I had a longer term power outage. The power was going to be out for a couple days, and I didn't want all of my snakes to be in that temperature in their enclosures in that time period. I didn't want to get any sick snakes. So I went and bought another generator, a much bigger one. And that way what I can do is I can run power cords into the house. Obviously, anytime you have a generator, keep it outside. I can run power cords into the house, and then I literally plug in all of my thermostats and all of my racks into the generators. That way I have a couple generators, so in case one fails, I can keep one going. I can run space heaters if I want, but the way I have it set up is if I plug all my racks in, the overall temperature of the room stays pretty warm, and I honestly don't notice really any difference. Where this is going to be a real important factor is if you have things like incubators. You never want to lose power outage, or you never want to lose power in the wintertime with incubators. You can buy little battery packs that will run the incubator heater for a while, but if you're really doing things like that, you need to think about backup plans and contingency plans like generators, because you could have this incubator full of awesome eggs that you're expecting to produce this year, one power outage and you're done. So the last option I'm going to go into, which is kind of the most extreme, I haven't gone to here yet because I don't think I'm large enough to get to this point, but someplace like BHB or Nerd or these larger breeding facilities, maybe even yourself if you have some cash and you want to do this, this is where I'm probably going to transition to in the next couple years, is I will just have a whole house power supply. So I don't want to backfeed my generator into my house. I don't know enough about it, and I don't want to burn my house down, but I will have a generator specific to my whole house, so I can just turn the generator on, isolate some of the sources. I don't need to power everything in my house. Isolate some of the electrical sources so a handful of things run, and then you can still keep all your temperatures. There's no running cords in, plugging in things in and out. So that's obviously the most extreme. But the easiest, simplest way, like I said, for the smaller collections, even if you have like 10, 20, 15, or 50 snakes, you can still put a whole bunch of them in a box or a couple boxes, and you're going to be golden. So those temperatures are going to work. Hopefully this video, you guys found this helpful, and I hope you never have a power outage that you need to do this in. But again, living in some of these colder climates with me in New England, that's just something I need to be prepared for. It happens a couple times a year, and I've never had an issue doing it this way. So hopefully you guys helped. Hopefully this video was helpful. Please continue to like, subscribe, comment, let me know what you guys want to see next, and I'll keep making the videos. Thanks, guys.